Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation which is part of the presentations of TESOL Arabia 2020 conference. My name is Nour Okla. I am an instructor at Al Ghurair University in Dubai, UAE. The title of this presentation is The Influence of Translanguaging on Language Learners' Communication Skills. Let's get started. In this presentation, we will discuss the definition of translanguaging, some practices included in translanguaging, the difference between code switching and languaging, and also some of the benefits of translanguaging. Then we will move on to the study and some points of conclusion that have been concluded from the study. What is the definition of translanguaging, or what is translanguaging? It is the act, according to Garcia 2009, it is the act performed by bilinguals of accessing different linguistic features or various modes of what are described as autonomous languages in order to maximize communicative potential. So Garcia sees that the bilingual learners have different autonomous languages and systems in their mind. The learners actually access them in various modes and features in order to maximize their communicative potential. Also, we in 2011 views translanguaging as a process that includes the full range of linguistic performances of multilingual language users for purposes that transcend the combination of structures, the alternation between systems, the transmission of information, and the representation of values, identities, and relationship. So he views it as a full range of linguistic performances in the minds of bilingual learners. It is also viewed as a complex process because learners control the different steps in their communication. They are aware of the process that it is involved in their communication. Therefore, it is not a static process. It is actually including the unified system of both or more languages in the learner's mind. It includes strategic decisions made by learners during their communication based on different situations. Therefore, it is a process of strategic decisions, situation-sensitive decisions that are used to achieve communicative goals, and therefore there is a need for a moment analysis, which is, according to we in 2011, it is the studying of actions in relation to specific situations to understand what triggered these actions and what reactions might follow. So we are no longer studying language as features or structures. We are studying the communicative aspects of different bilingual learners based on different situations. What are the actions that are raised by these situations, and what has triggered them, and what are the reactions of these bilingual learners? Why did they choose to use this term, and why did they choose to use their native language, their first language in this situation, and not the target language? And what is the reaction that might follow of their choices? It is also a dynamic process in nature, with multilingual learners employing the complex systems of different languages to respond to social and cognitive demands. The human nature is dynamic in nature. The linguistic nature or language in itself is dynamic in nature. So therefore, translanguaging itself is a dynamic process in nature. Now, it has been thought that for bilingual learners, they have different systems for every language they learn. So if a learner is bilingual and they have they know two different languages, this means that they have two systems for each, one system for each language in their mind, and these systems were separated. That was before translanguaging. However, on the other hand, translanguaging provides an environment where all languages merge and result in completely new ideas and practices. So this is the difference actually between code switching and translanguaging, because translanguaging views the two systems or the different systems as one system. There are different practices of translanguaging, but most of them include planned and systematic use of two languages. They are varying input and output languages. For example, we can provide the learners with a text that is written in the target language. The students will read the text in the target language, and then they will be requested to discuss and perhaps give feedback or summarize the text using their native language. It can happen in the opposite way also. It can happen, for example, by providing the students with an input text which is written in their native language, in their first language, and then they will be requested to discuss it and perhaps summarize it or do some activities about it in their target language. So the input and output languages are often switched. We all know, according to our practices, that the students do practice the translanguaging techniques secretly. According to me, in my classes, whenever I ask the students to do some kind of a group activity, they will start talking using their or discussing the points using their first language. Earlier on, I used to ask the students to use the target language, which is English in my case. I used to ask them to practice English more. Whenever I used to ask them this, I noticed that the students will refrain from discussing ideas. They will be hesitant to participate in the activities. And I always referred this to the English language proficiency among the students. But later on, I discovered that they feel more confident using their first language. So because the students are using it secretly, because they are doing it and it's kind of, they feel guilty when they are using it, there is a need for semi-structured environment where the instructors and educators will provide the students, especially bilinguals, with opportunities to practice translanguaging pedagogy inside the classes. This will maximize the benefit of translanguaging techniques. We have some of the benefits of translanguaging. According to Baker 2011, there are 4 benefits of translanguaging. It promotes deeper understanding of content, because when the content is explained, or at least part of it is explained to the students in their first language, this will ensure a deeper understanding of the subject matter. It develops skills in the weaker language, because this will give them opportunity to understand the meaning that is missing from the target language. It facilitates home and school cooperation. It helps the integration of fluent speakers with early learners, as we are putting them in groups with multilingual settings. The native speakers will use their first language to talk to each other and explain content matter to each other. So it can develop learners' second language ability concurrently with content learning. So it's not only about the content, but it's also about improving the linguistic skills of language learners. It also promotes deeper understanding of science concepts, especially related to complex vocabulary, because as we know, complex vocabulary is always a challenge for language learners, and especially in scientific fields. So they can achieve better results by relating them to their first language. It protects and promotes minority languages. It raises participant confidence and motivation. The students will be more motivated to participate. They will be more confident to share their ideas and to express their views. Maximizes learning of literacy skills. It also improves empowerment in language learning according to different research papers. It also increases cognitive engagement in content matter learning. So finally, with language learning, translanguaging helps in helping low proficiency students keeping pace with the curriculum, explaining grammar, clarifying vocabulary, class management, building rapport with the teacher or the educator, because the more closer we feel to the teacher because of using the native language or the first language, thus increasing the motivation among the learners, having better opportunities of class management, because when the students feel engaged, they are eager to learn, they feel confident about themselves, they are motivated to participate in the classes, this will lead to better class management results. The difference between code switching and translanguaging, as I indicated earlier on, these terms are actually used interchangeably. The main difference is that code switching considers each language having a separate system in the mind of bilingual learners, where each language is separate, has its own system. So it includes two or more separate languages and shifting from one code to another, while translanguaging focuses on what the speakers do with their language repertoires and how they select language features and soft assemble their language practices in ways that fit their communicative needs. So translanguaging is actually focusing on the strategies that these learners are using in order from their all systems are using in their practices and in their communicative process. Now, regarding the study, after I read about translanguaging, I thought that I might try it. I might try it as a systematic process in my classes, because I have, as I have indicated earlier on, I have noticed that many of my students are using native language when they are secretly, of course, when they are doing some kind of group activity. So I thought, let me see what is the influence, what might be the influence of translanguaging techniques on the learners. So the research questions were, what are the influences of translanguaging techniques on learners' communication skills in undergraduate levels? The second question was, what are the perceptions of undergraduate learners on using translanguaging techniques in the classroom? The second thing I wanted to see, whether the students liked this process, whether the students, yes, they were doing it. Now, what there were views about it. Would they like to try it again? Did they feel it helped them in their learning? So these were the research questions which I included in my study. The study included 114 undergraduate students from different colleges of the university. Female and male. I did not actually include the numbers of female and male students. Or the age range was between 19 and 25 years old. The duration of the study, it went on for 2 semesters. Each semester was consisted of 14 weeks. I started with the study with implementing actually translanguaging techniques from the beginning of the semester till the end. I used to collect my data. I used 3 ways of observation, survey, one survey that was distributed to the students at the end of the semester, and short response questions, which I received the students' responses for. I asked them about their opinions, about how they felt, would they like to do it again, and what problems they faced during the activities. The results were divided into 3 main categories. They included the learner motivation, learner participation, and learning outcomes. The learning outcomes were actually done by the observation, and they were done on the short-term retention and long-term retention. I observed the results of the students and how they achieved the learning objectives in each lesson and at the end of the semester. Regarding learner motivation, the study showed that there is a high degree of identity investment that is enabled by translanguaging techniques used. The learners were motivated to communicate with their colleagues in different activities. What I found is that the students were more engaged in the activities. They were in those activities which included translanguaging techniques. They liked the activities. They wanted to go on with the activities. So they invested their effort and their time. They were eager to learn. They were eager to share their ideas, to communicate with their colleagues. So they were actually motivated during these activities where we use translanguaging techniques. Regarding learner participation, they were motivated to participate. I think this is also related to motivation as well. During the activities where there were no translanguaging techniques involved, the motivation of the students was about, and I asked the students whether they liked the activities and how they participated in the activities. 69% of them indicated that they were motivated, while when we were using the translanguaging techniques, we had 92% of motivation and participation. Now, this was based on two things: on the surveys which I distributed to the students, and on the observation which I had during the activities. Though I like the percentage of 69%, which is a good percentage of participation, still it is not enough, because we need as much as we need the maximum potential of students. So not, there was an increase among the students that reached until 92% of the students participating when we use the translanguaging techniques. This might be related to English language proficiency levels. It might also be related to confidence among learners to use or to express their ideas, to share their views with their colleagues. It depends on many factors. Regarding the learning outcomes, the activity objectives were actually achieved better when we had translanguaging techniques. Regarding the short-term retention, I used short quizzes after each activity to ask the students, to check the students' objective fulfillment. And actually what I discovered is that when we used the translanguaging techniques, there was a better understanding of the course, the activity outcomes. On the long-term retention as well, I compared the questions which I included about the activities where we had translanguaging techniques with those which didn't have translanguaging techniques, and the students showed a better long-term retention results with the questions which were based on translanguaging techniques during the class. Regarding learners' participation, I asked them in the survey about several things, including whether they think they have learned better during the translanguaging techniques. Now, 91% indicated that they have learned better, while about 7% indicated they did not. Whether they were happy with these techniques or not, 87% of them were happy, so very happy with them, while about 8% were not. Would you like to do it in other courses? 78% of the students answered yes, they would, while about 16% answered no, they wouldn't. Did you have any problems? 77 students indicated they didn't have any problems, while 22 or 23 students indicated they did, and we will come across the problems in a minute. Was it a good strategy in your opinion? 79% of the students indicated that it was a good strategy for them. They liked it. They gained more information in it, while 19% of them indicated, 9% of them indicated that it was not good for them. The answers which I got from the learners' responses to the short questions, to the short response questions, I made them, or I categorized them in these themes. The students enjoyed the activities more than the other activities which did not include the translanguaging techniques. They felt more included. Many students indicated that now they feel they can participate in the class. They feel they are in the class more than before. They understood the content better according to their responses, and according to them also they were able to perform better when they were doing the translanguaging techniques activities. With the problems that were indicated with from the students, some students indicated stated that the groups are formed by the teacher. Now, this was true because I had to group the students according to their native languages. So those students who spoke the same language, who had the first language, the same first language, they needed to be grouped together in order to achieve the right result or the maximum results of translanguaging techniques. Other students indicated that there was not enough time. I don't see this as a problem actually, or an issue, because this means that the students wanted to participate more. They wanted not more time to share their ideas. Rather, they were having fun in the activities and they wanted to have more of these activities. The conclusion, as a teacher, I did not earlier see translanguaging as a possibility. I did not see my students using their native language in order to learn the content matter or to improve their linguistic skills. I can see that translanguaging allows educators to view language learners and the process of language learning from a different perspective, like I did. Translanguaging improves learners' communication, motivation, and performance, and when given the opportunity, learners can implement translanguaging techniques to help them improve their linguistic skills. These are the references that I have used in this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and it was informative for you. Thank you very much.